Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Shawn Kelly from Into the Night with Shawn Kelly. Um, we are on UPRN Radio 105.3 in New Orleans and 107.7 in New Orleans. So we got two radio stations there. But, if you want to tell your friends, if they want to come and watch the show, tell them to go to the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society Facebook page and like us and subscribe or whatever you got to do. And every week on Tuesday nights, you can pick up the show Chasing Prophecy, and you can also pick up my show Into the Night. So how was everybody's week? Mine was same old week. Nothing changed. Hey, Anthony, how are you, brother? Good to see you again. Thank you for coming on the show. That's my buddy Anthony. He's from Texas. And I noticed that my week has just been like every other ordinary week. The only difference is we got a full moon out there. Okay. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the full moon, a little bit. Um, it was taught to me a long time ago when I really first started getting into the metaphysical world that the moon lets off a lot more energy than the sun. Please, whoever's out there, correct me if I'm wrong. But whenever there was a full moon out there, I would literally go sit on my front porch, especially during the summertime, and just look up at the moon and absorb the energy that it has. Um, I will, be the first one to tell you, yes, it does have a lot of energy. And a lot of people came up to me and they said to me, well, you know what? The tides rise and people go crazy. And hey, Doreen, how you doing? Ah, the warm moon. Hi, Doreen. Good to see you. The moon today is called the worm, WRM moon. That's cool. But before I go on, okay, I do have, let me look it up here. I want to give a shout out. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. All right. I want to give a shout out to, I will find my notes. I had it, but of course I lost it, so bear with me. Okay, here we go. I want to give a shout out to the PA, Pennsylvania Spirit Seekers. And the boss of that group is Doreen Vogel. She's in the chat today. So if you have any questions that you want to bring up to Doreen, she's in the chat now. Very good investigator. Really knows what she's doing. She's good. Her group is good. And if you want to get a hold of them, their email is PA Spirits, PASPIRITS Seekers, SEEKERS, all one word, .com. And if you want to email them, it's the same name, PASPIRITSEEKERS @gmail.com. Maybe Doreen later on in the show would, type in her paranormal group. But I want to give a shout out to her and her group. They're very good. But yes, it is definitely the full moon. And I dealt with the crazies today. I sure did, And I hate calling them crazies because I know that our body is made up of 70% water. So what happens during the full moon, okay, especially to the oceans, there's always tides that rise, so I really believe that it affects the body, our water, and that's the water inside our body. And that's what kind of like, um, makes people do stupid stuff, I guess, Um, who knows? But I believe that's true. But yeah, it's funny because in this warm, WORM moon, I cannot pronounce that. Sorry. In Pittsburgh, we call it worms. So if you understand worms, it's a Pittsburgh thing. But it just, I guess it was the last 3 or 4 days whenever it was coming up to the full moon that, and not so much people acting strangely and behaving strangely, but it just seemed the whole atmosphere, like the whole universe. It was just like I want to say dull, like it wasn't happy. And here in Pittsburgh, we hardly ever see the sun, and it was just gloomy, gloomy, pretty bad. So now, is that the cause of the effects by the full moon? Does this happen all the time? Now, in my experiences with the full moons, not always. Um, I know that I get really tired sometimes, um, and it during the full moon. But it's really crazy because I get really tired, but then again, I'm getting all this energy. But I do want to, come out and tell you guys since you guys are really close. Hi, Michael Anthony. Yes, it has been a very nasty day. Yes, it has. That's my other buddy, Michael Anthony. Very good man. Um, but I need to tell you, everybody, tell everybody since we're close, and I'm not ashamed to tell you what's going on. I got blood tests done the other day, and it came back with the results where, hey, Tommy Miller's another one. Oh, great. Hi, Shawn. I definitely agree about the weird vibes out there leading up to this full moon. Thank you. That's 2 people, 3 people. But I got blood tests done, and I do, according to the doctor, I do have diabetes. And you know what? I'll be okay with it. Um, I'm just staying away from the good stuff, white bread, white rice, white whatever, you know. But so I'm taking. I don't know what the name of the medication is, and I also given me like 25 milligrams of vitamin D. Vitamin D. I love that. I love it because I tell you what, it gives me a ton of energy. You know, uh, Metformin. That's it, buddy. Thank you. Metformin is what I'm taking. But what's really crazy about the vitamin D that I'm taking, and from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that it's because we don't get enough sun here in Pittsburgh. I'm not sure, but it gives me the energy. It's like a substitute. Oh, it does. Okay, thanks, Mike. Vitamin D also protects from flu viruses. Thank you. So that's where I'm at, and I'm not throwing a pity party. I don't believe in the pity parties, or I didn't feel bad about myself for. Uh, Holy crap! Doreen Bogle says I have to take 50,000 IU's of vitamin D. Oh, Michael, you're a diabetic, bro. Okay. Oh, all right. Thank you for sharing that. 50,000. Oh my God, that's a lot of IU's. But it works for me, you know. And when I got the results, when I got the results back, yeah, I didn't feel sad. In fact, I kind of knew. I just had that like sixth sense of some sort that I knew I was eventually going to get it because it does run in my family a lot. But I'm okay. I didn't go off the deep end, which is like really, really cool for me, And it's just like simply growing up, and that's what I call it, growing up. So I'm taking the baby steps to go to where I need to be. Um, what else is happening with me? Oh, Lord, so much stuff. Well, I knows I put my vacation in June, and I think I'm going to go down to North Carolina. I'm going to go to North Carolina in June, the first weekend of June. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go gold prospecting. You know, I like North Carolina a lot because the people down there are very, very. I know your issues, hon. I really do, and I still pray for you. And I'm going to pray for everybody too tonight. You know, but I'm going down there to do gold prospecting. The people that live down in North Carolina, oh my God, they're wonderful people. Beautiful. You know, Pittsburgh has a lot of wonderful people too. You know, but in North Carolina, it's different. I like to drive down, and what I'm impressed with is the Appalachian Mountains or Appalachian, however you want to call it. It, it's beauty. It's gorgeous. You know, you go in Pennsylvania and you go on these mountains and you look over and you see all these trees that, especially in the fall, that are changing over. And Pennsylvania is gorgeous. It really is. But going down through the Appalachians is even more. Um, it's about on the same range as how pretty Pennsylvania is. Yes, so is Gettysburg. Yeah, I'm going to take a weekend one time to go up to Gettysburg, and I'll tell you all when I'm going up. So if y'all want to come up, we'll go to Gettysburg. Maybe I'll come out of retirement for a couple of days and do some investigating. But still, you know, I'm really excited about my vacation coming up in my truck. My God, I love it. I love it, especially on the cold, cold mornings where I have the automatic startup, you know, and I got 15 minutes to get once I start it up and into my truck. And I got the heated seats, and believe it or not, I got a heated, you know, steering wheel. You know, it might sound like that I'm bragging about it, but you know what? I never had a truck before in my life. I never had the automatic startup on any of my cars, and I don't know. I should have been smarter and got them on the other cars, but no, I just went. Yeah, I am spoiled. It's about time for me to be spoiled. You know, I got 7 more years left, and I'm gonna retire, and God only knows where I'll be, but I am gonna travel. You know, now I'm gonna have to actually learn how because I do want to get I do have to get a trailer. You know, and to get like a little, you know, tag along or whatever they call them, and just go because I will be able to experience America and go out west because that's my goal is to go out west. I so want to go to Montana. I so want to go to South Dakota, Idaho, out that way. I want to see it. You know, I've been up and down the East Coast so many times that it's time for me to venture out west. You know, I do got a vacation coming up in September, and I think I'm going to take a ride out and see my son out in Indiana. He's out there now. He's in the Indianapolis area, and I'm going to go out and go. You know, maybe have a couple dinners with him or a couple breakfasts. You know, with me and him, you know, I am so proud of my son. Um, what he has accomplished in his life and to get to where he's at. But heading to bed. Have a good night, buddy. You too, Dorian. Good night. Sweet dreams. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Um, but I'm just so proud of him and what he does. I really can't get into what he does because it's like kind of like highly classified and stuff like that. But you know what? Whenever I go visit my son when he was at Ohio State, I'd go down, and we're lucky we could actually spend 5 hours together without getting, you know, into fights. But to take a ride out, it's like what 5.5 hours from Pittsburgh to go out there to Indiana, and I'm going to do that this year on my second vacation in September, and I'm looking forward to that trip. So that's me in a nutshell. Um, Now, as you all know, that I am the co-host with Jenny Nicasio on Chasing Prophecy. That's the show that comes on this station, UPRN Radio 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. Um, we come on from 7 to 9. So tonight, we were supposed to have a guy called named Tom Reed. And in 1969, in a little town called Sheffield, Massachusetts, um, there was 40 people spotted a UFO up in the skies, and there were two or three people that actually got abducted, I guess, you know, and and it was like, and they all had the same stories of some type, seeing the same type of UFO, the same lights, the same everything, and so this Tom Green is like really really big into it because he didn't keep his mouth shut. He kept talking about it. But so there is a little documentary on Netflix, and it had to do with it. Eventually, what I'll do is I'll come back to it. Hopefully, I can find the show. But it was pretty interesting, you know. And with the other, that's the question I want to ask you. Why do some people get abducted? What is it about the people that I mean, do they just choose? Now I've heard in past shows from past guests that it comes down generation, family wise. And me and Jenny were talking about that, on Chasing Prophecy. And I don't know why they choose it. I don't know why. If I had an answer, I think, everybody would be able, to understand what's going on. But you know what? It's crazy. Doreen told me something earlier that I didn't realize. Mm, I got it in the text message here from her. Um, Let me see. She said something about president. Okay, she wrote, when you were talking about aliens, did you know that Dwight Eisenhower had a secret meeting with them? The reason that the government hasn't come out and said, yes, they are real, is because we are not ready to hear the whole truth. And I can understand that, you know, but I also told her, I said, you know what? It's the 21st century. And that's all we've been talking about. That's all people are interested in is UFOs. And maybe if they were smart enough, okay, if they were smart enough, the government, they would come out and tell us all about them. I mean, there's not going to be a mass hysteria. I mean, everybody is so open minded now about them. Why not just say it? Why not just say it? I mean, it's crazy. Who in the hell is going to go after an alien base in the ground or in the water? I believe there are more alien bases in the water. And when I say this to you, I, I I mean, I have been working with Jenny for almost 4 years now, and we have. Hey, Matt, what's up, buddy? It's my friend Matt Barron. He's a paranormal consultant. Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's a good dude to catch up with. Um, so, to me, I believe that there are more bases under the water. Okay. And which brings me up to, you know, Tom Reed. Okay. Now, if you notice in all those shows and in the news, you hear about all these UFO sightings happening out in California, Washington. Matt says, just stopping by. Hold on. My little thingy stepped in front of what he was saying. Matt says, just stopping by to show my support quickly and share. Wife is feeling under the weather. Much love, everyone. Much love to you. Much love to your wife, Matt. Okay, I'll say a couple prayers for her tonight. Hope she gets better. And thank you very much for sharing this. I appreciate it. Um, so you see all these UFOs, sightings and stuff out west, like California, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, California, Washington State, and that's all the places that they seem to talk about. But as I was doing my research, and I brought this up on Chasing Prophecy, and I just wanted to bring it up to you guys and tell you guys. But as I was researching Sheffield, Massachusetts, about UFO sightings and stuff like that, I found out something very, very interesting about Massachusetts or the New England states. Okay, that's New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, um, Massachusetts. And it was like, holy crap. There's like 5 or 6 states out there that have a lot of UFO sightings. And I was like, the first thing that came out of my mind, I Googled, are there any large bodies of water that is located around here, around Sheffield? And when they came up, I was like, wow, bingo. Okay. Um, Now that night when the UFO, stopped off in Sheffield, it stopped off at 3 other different towns at the same time. It was like a straight line. And I don't know the towns now. Okay. I'm just giving you a recap of what I read and what I did my research. And what was amazing was that there's a real big, humongous lake right there. And it begins with the letter Q. Quip or quick, Cuke, something like that. If anybody can tell me the name of that deep lake here, please tell me. But what was crazy about that was um, that lake was like almost not even a mile or two, maybe 5, 10, I don't know, but it was very close to that body of water, right? But here's what else was like really, really crazy. Okay. Um, so after I Googled the water, I also Googled military bases. And there are a lot. There's like 3 or 4 different military bases there um, surrounded by that lake. And these military bases are next to these towns that UFO stopped by. Um, so, what that did for me was that, and this is my opinion, okay, that that UFO came out of that huge lake. And there's a lot of mountains up there too in the New England states. So I'm sure there's some underground bases going on over there, you know. But so we're going to have Tom Green on Chasing Prophecy next week, 7 to 9 on the UPRN radio, 105.3 New Orleans. And I really want to hear his story. Um, I know right now he's out at a UFO conference out there in Roswell right now. There's a big thing going on out there, and that's where he's at. Um, but I'm really looking forward to the show. And if anybody here is listening to my show tonight, go and, do a little research on Tom Green. It's THOM Reed, REED, Tom Reed. He has a very interesting story, and I know for a fact he's going to be a very interesting guest on the show tonight, on next week. But so that's where I'm getting this. There's, like I said before, you're getting all these UFO sightings out west and in the Midwest, but you don't hear too many here on the East Coast. And it was like I was a little upset. I mean, not to the point where maybe that's the wrong word that I use, upset, but no, I mean, this is like in our own backyard here. I'm from Pennsylvania, and and it's like it's in our own backyard, but we never hear about any of the UFOs. sightings that were here in the New England states, Maine, New York. Think about it. Now, there's a show out there called Missing 411, The Hunted, and I do believe the guy's name David Peldes or something like that. Um, you have to excuse the way I pronounce words because I am from Pittsburgh, and Michael knows, and Tommy knows, Doreen knows that we have a different type of accent here, which is totally different from a lot of places. So when I try to pronounce words, I do it the Pittsburgh way. Um, but back to the story though. I'm a little upset that nothing was mentioned about the East Coast UFOs going around. Um, but I wasn't. What it did was it really, really gave me a lot of time, and I thought about it that I have to do a little bit more research into this, you know, and and that's what I'm going to do, and maybe I can bring a couple snippets, next week to tell you guys, what I have picked up. So, the main thing I want to talk about today is all right, think about it, right? So, we're here on Earth, and you listen to everybody talking about ETs, aliens, UFOs. And it's like, I was at work today, and I knew we were going to have talk about UFOs and aliens next week, today. So all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, I got this clarity. It was like, okay, we talk about the aliens a lot and the UFOs and where they come from. Have you ever wondered why or what the aliens think of us? Think about it, right? So, you know, then my mind started to race. Um, my mind started to race, and I started to come up with all these ideas. And I'm not going to tell you the whole thing because I'm going to kind of like make this into a little short story, so you guys can keep coming back to my show and listening to it. But think about it, right? So there's this alien, and I'll call him Gizmo, all right? Gizmo, the alien. And he's up there sitting on wherever planet he is, wherever moon he's in, whatever star he's at. And he has a son next to him, and that's Gizmo Jr., right? So Junior turns around and he's looking out in the galaxy and he says, Daddy, what's up with the Earth, the big blue planet? And Gizmo just turned around and said, there are some crazy freaking people on that planet. And then he says, well, what are you talking about? He said, all these people down there, they talk about us. They talk about me. They talk about you and what kind of craft we have and what kind of planet do we live on. But aren't we supposed to go down? This is Junior talking. Aren't we supposed to go down and kind of help them understand who we are? Are we not supposed to go down there and tell the people, hi, my name is Gizmo Jr., and say, hey, what questions do you have about us? And Gizmo looked at his son and said, that's just not going to happen. And little Junior said, why? He says, it's not supposed to happen. There's a lot of secrets down there on Earth that we know, aliens, we know, but we're not allowed to tell them, the Earth people, the Earthlings, if you want to call it that. And Junior looked up at him and said, "You know what, Dad? That's not right. That's not right that we do this. I think everybody should get along, and we should know about each other." And Gizmo just sit there and he kind of like put his head down, and he was didn't have a tear, but he said, "You know what, son? You're right. We should." So Gizmo and Junior took a little, ride in their UFO down to Earth. What's Matt? Oh, he went. Tony, he went. Anthony, he went. Um, and so they got into their UFO and they took a little ride down to Earth and they landed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And they just sat there on a building. They were cloaked so no one could see them. And they saw how wonderful Earth people were, especially in Pittsburgh, because we have good people in Pittsburgh. And I'm sure where everybody else is at, they have good people where they live. So actually, you can put any city that you want. If you live in Wheeling, West Virginia, you can say Wheeling. But Gizmo and Junior, they're up there sitting on the building, the U.S. Steel building, and looking down. And they're watching everybody. It's Rush. And everybody's walking around. It's daytime. It's like nobody cares. All they care about is getting from point A to point B. And Junior looks up at Dad and says, "You know what? This isn't right. Nobody talks to anybody here. And everybody seems to be angry too. Why is that? Why is that, Junior?" No, Junior said, "Why is that, Gizmo?" Or Dad, whoever you want to call him. And he said, "There's a lot of secrets here on Earth that we know of that they don't know, especially the secrets that has to deal with our kind." And old Junior there, he was like getting confused and stuff like that. He said, and Gizmo said, "You know what, dude?" He goes, "One day you'll learn. One day you'll learn about Earth people. But Dad, when we're up there on the spaceship, we don't talk about them like that. We just look at them like they're people, not animals. And we all know, everybody tells us what they're all about. They tell us. All the aliens know about us. But their government won't tell them? Nobody will tell them about us? I think that's really unfair." And Gizmo, all he could do was just, put his head down and shake his head. He said he knows. But God bless Junior. That's all I could say. Because Junior, he was getting his, his Irish up or his alien up. He had his alien up. And um, he's like, we got to change this. We have to change this. And Gizmo looked and turned around, looked down at him, and said, "You know what? Good luck." "Well, Gizmo, Dad, I am going to make this happen." And so they went back into their spaceship and they went back to where they belong, where they live. And at that, I'm going to leave it at that. So, is it possible that the aliens think about us like that? You know, the only way you're going to find out is if you have to come back next Tuesday to my show, and then we'll do chapter 2 on it. You know, and I mean, it's not um, a thing for you guys to come and watch my show. I hope you guys come and watch my show because I do. If I put on a good show, that's why you're here. But you know what? It gives me another week in order to figure out more about what the aliens think about us. Do they want to control us? If they wanted to control us, they would have done it already. If they wanted to take all our food away from us, or they wanted to make us robots, they would have done that already. Now, look at it like this. Now, is there, we'll say, uh, Greys, reptilians, and Nordsmen are like three aliens I know about. Okay. Now, say like the Greys are working with the United States. Think about it. Roswell happened in 1947, 1951, 52 came out the first, oh, Jesus, where you put food in, came out microwave. Okay. 1947, Roswell happened. 1951, 52, I do believe that's when microwaves came into play. Right. And after the microwaves came into play, there was a lot more things, um, technology wise, that I can guarantee it, we did not know all that crap. I can guarantee it of all the stuff. And then they come with phones, and then they come with chips, and then they come in with microchips. Our Navy, our Air Force, they have planes that are built similar to so called UFOs, where they go undetected. And I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why the government doesn't want us to know the secrets of the aliens. Okay. Maybe that's one reason why they don't want us to know, because they're afraid that the Chinese or the Russians or the North Koreans and whoever out there is going to say, oh, they gave us all this technology, blah, 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 blah. But now, so we got the Greys. And so China decided to say, okay, you know what? We're going to take the reptilians. And they made a deal with the reptilians. Now the reptilian aliens, the reptilians, they're not good people. Okay. Um, they like to, and this is how I proceed to tell you. So I might be way off base, but this is how I look at it. So the reptilians, they hang out with China, right? Because China and the aliens, reptilians, they made a deal, and so the reptilians are giving the Chinese stuff. Okay. Now right now that the states, U.S. and China, there's some negative talking going on in the world now between us two. But also now you got Russia in the picture who is fighting Ukraine, correct? So I'm saying the Nordsmen because they're big and giant. They're like Vikings, if you want to say. And so the Vikings, I guess, were good or not good. Who knows what they were? But thinking of that, uh, Russians and the Giants, I'll call them Giants, okay? They made a kind of deal. And the Giants actually gave, um, different types of weaponry, something, whatever. I lost track of mine. So you got three different aliens working with three different countries. Two don't like us, right? Now, the ones that came to the United States, is it possible that they had the better material, the better knowledge. Okay. Possibility? Who knows? Now, this is the way I look at it. 4 years of doing radio, and this is how I'm looking at it. And people might think I'm crazy, or they might think I'm a nut, and it is a full moon and it's getting close to St. Patrick's Day, right? But this is how I feel. And to me, there's no way that the governments can hold us back. Now, we talk to a lot of people on Chasing Prophecy. We have. And a lot of people, a lot of our guests have said that it is the right of power, you know, money, power. But you can only do so much with that money and power. What more can you have? The Rothschilds, come on, the richest people in the world. That dude, George something, who has all that money, who wants to start a new world order. He has a ton of money. And he can do whatever he wants with it. But what's the power? What is the power? What can power do for you? Tell you what to do? Well, they're trying to do this new world order shit, and I don't understand it completely. But you know what? We're fighting back on it. We are fighting. We're fighting on it. But the militaries of China, Russia, and the United States just come out and say, hey, this is what we have. And if you want to attack us, then you know what? Try. Do what you have to do to figure out how to stop us. But there's only one way now to stop everything is a nuclear war. Did we learn that from the aliens? Did we learn it from the scientists? What Dorian said about, was it Eisenhower having a, private meeting? Do the aliens have, the book of life? Do some of the pictures that you've seen in the Vatican and in the books, on the computer and stuff, that you see, the rise of Jesus Christ. And there's all these little bright lights out there in the sky, you know. And some claim, just some, not all, some claim that they're UFOs. Okay. A lot of people, and this is what I've heard through my guests, I've heard a lot of people say that, Jesus Christ could possibly be an alien. This is how crazy this whole shit and caboodle has gotten to. And all it does is just drive people crazy. But you want to hear something funny, though? Here is something extremely, extremely funny. And I can attest to this. If you tell somebody the truth, that person will think you're lying. And if you tell a person a lie, that person will think that you're telling the truth. So they can come out and tell us whatever we want to hear. Is it the truth? Or is it a lie? Is it, coming out? Remember back when they had, 43 photos of UFOs? Or Tic Tacs? Come on, please give me a break. We know they're UFOs. And out of the 43 of those pictures that they showed out, now, I have people who will back me up, and if I'm saying the wrong number, please feel free to tell me. But and only one picture could a possibility be a UFO? It's hogwash. It's horseshit, is what it is. To me, it's horseshit. I think what would really, really, really make the world a better place is if they come out and told us the truth. What's it going to hurt? But then again, like I said before, you tell us the truth, we're going to think you're lying. So there's no win-win situation in this whole thing. And, the government or whoever is going to throw us a bunch of malarkey out there. Just deal with it, you know? I'm going to be 61 in June, and I'm still alive, okay? None of this Project Blue Beam, Blue Shield, or whatever now you want to call them, going on. It's not going to, it might have happened. Was it Blue Beam, I think? Um, Project Bluebeam was where our government were going to put holograms up in the sky and pretend that there was an alien invasion going on, just to see what people would feel or do. But you know what? We're not dumb no more. We are not dumb. We know what's going on. I mean, I could do a couple shows on knocking the government, but I won't. Not tonight, because it's about how I feel about the whole thing. And I'm sure there's a ton of conspiracies going out there, but right now, tonight, I really don't want to get into a conspiracy about it. I'm just telling you how I feel. And the whole motto of my whole show tonight was my whole motto for it was, if they tell us the truth, then maybe we can go and start a brand new, better life. And that's how I feel. All right, Anthony, see ya. Got to get off. See you next time. Thank you for sharing and being you, brother. Thank you for being you too, Anthony. Thank you. And good luck over there at the forest. Um, good luck to you guys. But that's how I feel tonight. I just thought I'd share it. What do the aliens really think about us? Who knows? And I'm sure they're not supposed to say anything. Or what is it? They talk to each other through their minds. Mental telepathy. Wow. So what? I know for a fact that I'm going to be dead before any of this happens. You know, but I just got to accept the fact that when I wake up in the morning, that I'm going to have to deal with that day, because there's no guarantee for me for the next day. There's no guarantee. And in the past, the day before, it's over with. It's gone. So all I have to do is worry about today. Am I going to freak out? This is me. Am I going to freak out if I see 10,000 freaking UFOs coming down and, blasting us off the earth or whatever? I can't worry. I wouldn't worry. I might be worried for other people, but, for me, no. Because, again, was it written in the book of life? Jenny, Jason Prophecy in the know with Jenny says they think we are weak. And that's my co-host, Jenny Nicasio, right there. Good. I'm glad that you're strong. We are weak. But Jenny, how can we be strong? Does our government think we are weak? Weak? Or the government? Who knows? Who knows what's up? But I want to thank you for listening to the show tonight. Next week, I have a show coming up, and it might hurt some feelings or whatever, but I really need to do this. Um, talk about how the Irish were treated when they came over here to the United States in 1863, 61, 63 after the potato famine. I'm going to do a show on that. And then I want you to compare. I want you to compare. They were treated like dog shit, is what they were treated like. So I hope you all tune in next week for the show. Don't forget, we'll have chapter 2 of Gizmo and Gizmo Jr. And children, please, whatever you do, if you can, go up to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go up and give your kids a hug and tell them that you love them. And with people who have no children or no parents, hug somebody, a friend, a good friend, and tell them that you love them. And when you say this, mean it. Seriously mean it. Because those 3 words, I love you, will go a long way. And on that note, thank you for watching. See you next week. Happy hunting.